Welcome back to some more live reading. Today we're just going to read through some poems, some poetry I figured would be good, and these poems all sort of have the same through theme of home, and I thought it was a poignant one to do today. This time in our lives, we're spending a lot of time at home, and sort of what home means to different people, but essentially, what it means as a universal theme that we all have this, we all have a home. Yeah. So we're going to start with a poem called Home Defined by Charles Swain. Okay. Home's not merely for square walls, though with pictures hung and gilded. Home is where affection calls, filled with shrines the heart hath builded. Home, go watch the faithful dove, sailing neath the heavens above. Home is where there's one to love. Home is where there's one to love us. Home not merely roof and room, it needs something to endear it. Home is where the heart can bloom, where there's something kind lip to cheer it. What is home with none to meet, none to welcome, none to greet us? Home is sweet and only sweet when there's one we love to meet us. So yeah, this one's sort of, saying that it's not just a house with four walls, it's not four square walls, it's not just a roof and a room. Home is, the people that are there to greet us. Yeah. Which I really like those, the rhyming scheme in that as well, how it switches is interesting. The next one we're going to look at is Home of My Youth by William B. Tappan. So this one's from a poet who was alive in the 1800s, so a little bit of an older one, and you can sort of see through this poem the sort of difference in language use, and also difference in what home was like. The words associated with home were different in the 1800s to what we would class as words of how our home now, but this, it's still an overarching theme that bridges that gap in time still. So he's talking about his the home of his childhood as well, I think, in this one. Cool. So, home of my youth, with fond delight, O thee doth recollection dwell. Home of my youth, how gaily bright the scenes that childhood loved so well. Cot of my father's, well I know the spot that saw my infant dawn, near the green lane, the old elm row, the village spire, the grassy lawn. Oh, sweet to me the laughing hours, when earth seemed gay and heaven was fair, when fancy culled her throneless flowers, and pleasure reigned unknown to care. Home of my youth, this heart away recalls those moments dear to me. Often in dreams will memory stray, home of my youth, to weep over thee. So a lot of different sort of language. We've got the lee and doth and all those sorts of fancy things that he's using in there. And he's also got done an interesting thing with some what's the word for it I'm looking for? They're look-alike rhymes in this as well, where it doesn't sound the same, but it's written the same, if that makes sense. Yeah, and so he's got those repeating lines from the last line and the very first line, home of my youth with fond delight, and then home of my youth to weep over thee. Yeah, which is an interesting mirroring of how he is delighted, and he had a really great childhood, it sounds like. It's full of bright, and he loves so well and things like that. And at the same time, he can weep over it because he says often in dreams will memory stray. So like he's forgetting these childhood memories, which is kind of sad. As we grow up, we lose the ability to remember that far back. Yeah, which is quite interesting as well. Cool. And then the last one, I believe. Oh no. Is it? How many? Oh, we'll do this one and then we'll see what time we're at for one more. So this one is called Home by Ardelia Cotton Barton. So this one, you'll see some similarities to the first one we read. Cool. A perfect home is heaven's door. It's built of loving deeds. No angry frown or biting word will sow discordant seeds. No selfish wish nor cruel act will in this home be found. No thought of self will have a place, for each to each is bound by ties of love so pure indeed, so helpful, so serene. That door seems portal of high heaven, rich treasures there are seen. O joyous home when built of love, foundation of esteem. The walls are raised from happiness, with love the windows gleam. This home will stand for on earth and through eternity, for God and angels hold the lease, the rent is sanctity. So yeah, that's again that message of family being your home, and family is forever. You always have family members. So this home will last for eternity, because we will always have our ancestors, and then we will have our own generations after us. So this home will continue on down the line of family. There's lots of references to heaven in this one. Thinking of the house as heaven, when you're coming home, you're escaping the craziness of the outside world and you're coming to your safe haven, your safe place, which is really nice. Where are we time-wise? So we might have time, since that one was short, for another short one. So this one is a home song by Henry Van Dyke. So here we go. I read within a poet's book a word that starred the page. Stone walls not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Yes, it is true that something more you'll find wherever you roam, that marble floors and gilded walls can never make a home. But every house where love abides and friendship is a guest is surely home, and home sweet home, for there the heart can rest. So again, we can see all those similar themes message throughout this poem that we've looked at in the other poems, and I find that really interesting that the line that marble floors and gilded walls is repeated compared to the I think it was the Tappan poem. No, not the Tappan poem. The Charles Swain poem. He says, though the pictures hung and gilded. So got that repetition of those words in relation to the walls of the home, which is really interesting. And must be, if it's a song, a home song, it must be traditionally said in like a bit of a sing-song voice. But I didn't feel like doing that for you guys today. So those are some really interesting poems. I thought it was a good theme to choose because of this time where we're spending lots of time at home with our own families, and for me in my bubble, it's just me and my partners. It's just the two of us. And we feel like we are this little bubble, this little family, this little home that we have, even though it looks different to what my, with the rest of my family, my mum and my dad and my sister, who all live out of Wellington. They're still part of my family, it's still part of my home. I always say when I go back up to stay with my parents, I'm always welcoming back home. It still feels like home to me, even though it's not the childhood home that I grew up in. It's home because that's where my mum and my dad and my cat is. So I thought it was an interesting message to share with you some personal connection. And I hope that you think about your personal connection to this theme of home and what home means to you, especially during this time. I hope you're all well and staying safe and enjoying these live readings. Ka kite anō.